What's up everybody, Landon with LMR.com. In this video, I'm going to be providing the general steps on how you remove a T5 transmission from your 1982 to 1995 Mustang or 1994 to 2004 Mustang with a V6. Removing the T5 in your Mustang is needed to replace and/or inspect crucial drivetrain and engine components. Some of these components include the clutch and pressure plate assembly, flywheel, the pilot bearing, clutch fork, throwout bearing, and even the rear main seal. The removal steps will be shown on our 1991 Fox body race car, so a few steps regarding the interior will slightly differ throughout the years. To begin the removal process, disconnect the negative battery cable. From inside of the car, remove the upper shift boot and bezel. Loosen and remove the shifter handle to shifter hardware. Set the handle aside. Loosen and remove the 4 bolts securing the lower boot to the floor. Pass the lower boot over the shifter. Loosen and remove the 4 shifter to transmission retaining bolts. Use a pry bar or flathead to dislodge the shifter from the transmission. The shifter is now free to come out. If you still have the factory clutch quadrant installed, pull up to release the self-adjuster and support the pedal with some sort of prop. If you have an aftermarket clutch quadrant and firewall adjuster, rotate the firewall adjuster in the correct orientation to release any clutch cable preload. Now you can support the car via a lift or jack stands. Disconnect the O2 sensor electrical connections. Spray a penetrating oil onto the exhaust hardware. All you need to remove is the mid-pipe. This is done by removing the mid-pipe to manifold retaining hardware. Then you can loosen and remove the hardware, securing the mid-pipe to the catback. The mid-pipe is now free to come out. Loosen and remove the 2 9/16 nuts, securing the transmission mount to the crossmember. To remove the crossmember to body nuts, hold the bolt head with a 13mm box-end wrench and loosen the nut with a 15mm socket. Do this for both sides and leave the bolts in place. Place a reference mark on the rear of the drive shaft and pinion flange for orientation. Loosen and remove the 4 retaining bolts with a 12-point, 12mm socket. An impact will be your best friend here. Place a drain pan under the tail shaft. Remove the drive shaft from the transmission and then plug the tail shaft. Be sure and cover the yoke to protect it from foreign material. Loosen and remove the 4 transmission to bell housing bolts. Remove the reverse light switch from the side of the transmission. This is easily dislodged with a flathead. Disconnect the electrical connection from the speed sensor if equipped. Dislodge the speedometer cable clip and remove the cable from the sensor. Now you can go ahead and support the transmission with a jack. Remove the crossmember bolts. You can set the crossmember aside. The transmission can now be removed from the car. Remove the clutch fork dust cover retaining bolt, followed by the cover. Pass the cable eyelet through the large opening in the clutch fork. Use a flathead screwdriver to remove the clutch cable to bell housing retaining clip. Remove the 2 9/16 starter to bell housing retaining bolts. Pull the starter out of the opening in the bell housing and set it aside. Loosen and remove the 6 5/8 bell housing to engine block retaining bolts. A long extension and wobble socket will be the go-to combination for these bolts. The bell housing and clutch fork assembly can now be removed from the car. Break loose all of the pressure plate retaining bolts. These should be 1/2 inch in size, and there are 6 of them. Evenly loosen all of the bolts. Pry the bottom of the pressure plate assembly away from the flywheel. When doing this, ensure that you pay attention. The clutch disc and pressure plate will be removed together. Evenly loosen the 6 flywheel to crankshaft retaining bolts. Leave the top bolt installed a few turns until the very end. This will allow the flywheel to be supported so that you can remove it with ease. Last but not least, remove the spacer plate from the dowels on the engine block. You have successfully removed your T5 transmission. Be sure and reference our clutch install video for the proper steps to get all these components reinstalled. Alright guys, a few things you'll want to keep in mind when removing your T5. Most of you are probably going to be doing this off of jack stands. If so, be sure and get the car as high and as safe as you can in the air. Of course, be sure and have on hand a decent set of tools. A transmission floor jack will make life a lot easier, and you may need an extra set of hands from a friend when doing this. To see more how-to and review videos covering industry-leading products, be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this video, and don't forget to turn on notifications. While you're at it, be sure and check out our other videos, and don't forget to shop lmr.com for all things 1979 to present Mustang and SVT Light.